everyone, welcome once again to Flash Discussions. I am Captain Logan.
My name's Dan.
Hi Dan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I am excellent, especially after today's episode, because I really enjoyed Flash and was like, wow, I didn't realize how much I missed the show after just not getting it for like 1 week.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is one of the best episodes so far. I would say it's probably on par with the Captain Cold episode for me.
Oh wow, you're gonna put it that high? That's awesome.
Yeah, the Captain Cold stuff was really good, and I liked what they did with him in that episode. But I think a lot of the thematic stuff in this episode really did it for me and made me like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I would assume that part of your reason for saying that also has to do with the fact that you were hoping that Captain Cold would completely break that generic villain getting beat in 5 minutes formula, and that we wouldn't immediately go back to it. And we did not immediately go back to it.
We did not, and they set up one of my other favorite Flash villains at the end, which was really exciting.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and answer some questions and comments from last episode, going rogue. And the first one comes from Sam Weft, who says, one reference you missed is that the diamond Captain Cold steals is named after the country Black Adam rules, Kondak. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's cool. And of course, there's also Black Adam references in this episode. So interesting to. Oh no, I'm sorry, not Black Adam, Captain Adam. There's so many Adams in DC.
Yeah, there is. I was gonna say I don't know anything about either of those characters, so they kind of
Me
flew over my
either.
head.
Me too. When I watch Arrow and Flash, when proper names come up that start with capital letters, I look them up and put DC Comics after it in a Google search to see if they were a thing already.
That's why Harrison Wells is so cool because he's like not. That's not a DC Comics character name, so it's like all mysterious.
Yeah. Ooh. Review King MB. I don't know, guys. I actually thought this episode was the first to make Iris different and likable compared to other superhero love interests. I agree there's not a lot to her character just yet, but her not being jealous of Felicity and telling Barry he should date her was something I was very impressed with. That is a fair point.
Yeah, that is fair, and I think they did a lot of stuff in this episode to make her much more likable
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
intelligent than I ever. Like, not that I thought she was dumb before. I was just like she seems
No,
to
but they've
be.
accidentally they've accidentally done stuff with her where we're like, I don't think you meant to make her seem as dumb as she seems right now.
Right, and the fact that she's just kind of into stupid people.
Psychotic B. Anyone else think it's funny that this episode was directed by a guy named Glenn Winter?
That's awesome.
Yes, I agree with you.
I didn't notice that. That's
This,
like Mark Webb's Spider-Man
it's like Mark Webb. That's
stuff.
just what I was gonna say. Uh, Emmanuel Alanis, I can't believe you guys, at least as far as I remember, haven't considered the possibility of Eddie Thawne becoming Wells in the future. Because the personalities are so different.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Thawne, maybe he's being manipulative too and acting like a dumb person. I don't know. I they look really different. The personalities are really different. I'm with you. I'm not sure that that's going to happen. I think.
Yes, and maybe I'm projecting too much of what I've read in a lot of other comics, where in a lot of comics in general, excuse me, where you have a character who, from an early age, is such an intellectual genius that they're already like building things at 5 years old in their bedrooms or whatever. But I don't see a person like Eddie Thawne becoming the brilliant man Wells is.
Yeah, me either. Unless they like put him down that path to some degree once he gets the Reverse Flash costume on later in the season. I don't know.
It's possible. I just feel like a lot of that for most even like real life people. I'm not saying that it's not possible to become a lot different and to develop some aptitude for things, but so much of what he seems to be able to do is not just learned, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just a brilliant man who like is naturally that way.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like he's just got a lot of life experience, obviously, since we're presuming that he is a time traveler, and we kind of know that already. Um, so it seems like he kind of knows all those things because he's lived lifetimes or something.
I would say that it is possible that it is still somewhat conceivable that we will find out that this guy is someone who has gotten information from the future and has not actually gone back in time. But too many of things that he said that seem to have like underlying connotations or really seem to be foreshadowing that he's actually from the future. Now, I wouldn't discount the possibility that there that he and Eddie Thawne might not like know each other in the future or something because of the fact that he's a Reverse Flash. I can see why you would say that there might be some sort of connection there. I don't see them being the same person.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be. I mean, it all depends on how they do it, obviously, but I just don't see that actor being able to pull off really smart guy either, you know. But maybe he can surprise me. I don't know.
Well,
We haven't really seen him do all that much yet.
he must be keeping it a big secret.
Yeah.
Laser Dude 99, this is an interesting question. Do you think this show needs to have a bad guy every episode? If they want to develop the characters more, maybe they should just have Barry fighting regular criminals to focus on the other characters rather than having a throwaway villain. I thought the same thing second episode out.
hmm
Because he goes up against some criminals, and the argument he was having with Joe back then was you don't need to stop everybody. Well, and I think also with Caitlin a little bit, if memory serves, we put you in the field to stop metahumans, not regular criminals, and then he just got lucky that it happened to be a metahuman, and he really did need to be in there. Yeah, I'm with you. I kind of hope that it's not a metahuman or a major bad guy every episode. I think it would make sense for it not to be. On the other hand, uh, I think that would be best served for kind of a more uh, hang timey kind of episode where it's just very drama heavy, drama in a good way. But just an episode where yeah, there aren't any crimes this week. There's just important personal things going on.
Yeah, I mean, I could see important personal things going on being parallels between villains and heroes too. Once we get all the rogues together and we start to develop Captain Cold and some of the other members of the rogues a little bit more too. They don't necessarily need to be fighting every episode. We can kind of compare them. I mean, I don't know if this is a show that would do that kind of thing, but
Yeah.
I would hope so because that would be really cool.
Hunter Vander Swag, I laughed so hard when you said, I'm hoping that I will come to really like ISIS.
Yeah. Hope there's no chance that's ever gonna happen.
I don't think that's gonna happen. John Sidney, Dan, I cannot believe we didn't talk about this. I am so glad this episode doesn't have a flashback.
Oh yeah, that's true.
This episode reminded me of why the flashbacks in Arrow annoy me. Everything that happens in the present is way more interesting to me than anything that happened on the island, and they're in every episode. I can only say why you'd say that. I'm not gonna talk about Arrow right now, but yeah, I'm glad that they at least they did an episode without a flashback, so that we knew that that wasn't the formula for this show. Now, at this point, when they do them and they seem necessary, I'm fine with it. I was just kind of hoping that it wasn't going to be the same Arrow formula where they went, well, we know how to write in this formula and plug in for X, Y, and Z, and everything we write has flashbacks in it.
And then you're gonna find out at the end of the season, the whole show was a flashback from the future.
That's a flash forward, Dad.
A flashback from if the story takes place in the future and we're flashing back to the past. That's still a flashback, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a flashback. I thought you meant like, oh yeah, that wouldn't make any sense at all. Nope, you're right. That would be a yeah, from the future, and then all season two takes place. If all season two takes place in the future,
That would be
then
awesome.
this was a flashback, and that would be great. Like the end of the season ends with, and now we're at the Flash Museum, and it's 2024.
Hey, it's a way to move fast.
Renwick Davis, Martin Stein, the second half of Firestorm has already been cast, and it's Victor Garber. I'm very interested in seeing how Ronnie and Martin play off each other. Yeah, that's me too. That's interesting. I'm interested to see how you make Firestorm work on screen.
Yeah, it's just gonna be like a dude talking to himself in his head. Because
Yeah, How are we gonna do that? Are we gonna do the comic book thing where we see like a kind of like Doomsman and Spawn here, where we have like a floating head right next to Firestorm, saying, "Okay, now this is what you need to do," or are they gonna do sort of Firestorm but not actually go all the way? Because I don't know, man. These shows so far, they like to go all the way.
They do.
I feel like if they're bringing in both sides of Firestorm, we're gonna get Firestorm in exactly the same way that I think we're gonna see Palmer become the Atom.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do because, like, didn't we see Ronnie Raymond in the particle accelerator supposedly die? And I'm assuming that's his origin for Firestorm. Isn't it going to be like, how are we going to find out that other character was like related to fight? Because don't you have to like be around something that gives you powers? Presumably, like so far they've established that. Like, is this guy going to get hit by the particle accelerator while he's like near fire too, and that's why they're drawn together? That I don't know. That's going to be kind of weird. It'll be interesting to see how they do it, but.
Yeah, or if they do some kind of version where the second half could be anybody, you just have to pick someone.
Oh, that'd be funny.
I mean, I don't know how you would do that, but like maybe all they need is like maybe what they'll do is they'll have the one guy be just straight up Firestorm, but then the other guy is just like a radio in his head or something.
Yeah, it could be like Microchip.
But again, they love going all the way.
They do. They do.
So it's hard to buy that they won't do something as close to comic book as humanly possible. Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see how you do that. My mind's kind of spinning with ideas with that. Lydia Cabarros, hey Cap, how would you feel about Clock King joining the Rogues? What? Yay?
That would be cool.
Like, Clock King should be the leader of the Rogues.
No,
obviously.
he shouldn't.
Yes, he should. Yeah, okay, he should be second in command of the Rogues.
All are subservient to Cold.
You know what? I don't care because he's Clock King, and Clock King is way cooler than anyone else. And no, I mean like that would be great. I don't know what exactly they're doing. I know that he's going to be in the show. I don't know if he's going to join the Rogues. I hope that happens because it would give us an excuse to see him as a recurring villain more often. But only if he jumps back and forth because he's great in Green Arrow, and of course he's great in Arrow, and of course he was a Green Arrow villain first. So but I just want as much of that character as humanly possible.
I think there's going to be precedents set for the villains jumping between shows because in the Arrow crossover they announced that Captain Boomerang is going to show up in the Arrow episode first or something. So I mean he's a major.
That's so weird. So Clock King is going to show up in Flash, and then Boomerang's going to show up in Arrow.
Yeah, and Captain Boomerang's a major Flash villain in a founding member of the Rogues, so you would imagine he's going to be in the Flash show eventually. So.
And as I've said before numerous times, Boomerang is my favorite Rogue.
He's pretty awesome.
So, yeah, I'm excited about that. And I should save this for comic references, but of course he's foreshadowed in this episode.
Yes.
In a kind of hilarious sort of way.
It was really funny.
Chad Van Oosterdorp. My biggest problem with the episode is Captain Cold let them go without killing them. They free Barry from the ice almost immediately, and not only does Barry, the fastest man alive, go after a guy maybe 5 steps away, but they pan out and Captain Cold is nowhere to be seen. Where did he go, and why didn't the fastest man alive go after him? Ha ha.
Well, the cold gun, they said, does affect his speed, and it takes him longer to heal from that than other things, like they showed in the earlier parts in the episode.
Oh, and had he just been hit with it? I forget.
Yeah, he was frozen on the ground.
Well, that would explain it then.
See, Cold is a genius. He's not really a genius, but that's his charm, him not being a genius.
So apparently, the host of the trivia contest was the prankster?
Really? Do they ever say his name?
I don't know. Okay, so here's the thread. Robo Boomstick said the host of the trivia contest was the trickster, but then McCaffrey said, sorry, but wrong, it was Oswald Loomis, the prankster. Oh, okay, and then the next guy said Loomis is actually the prankster, so no, that guy was just nobody. Apparently. Anyway, never mind.
Okay.
That would have been cool if that were actually the case. I've just wasted a whole minute on something that was not actually a thing at all. Let's go ahead now, shall we? Since we're about 15 minutes in, and jump into today's episode, Plastique. And the first thing I want to throw out is I thought that the girl playing Plastique had fantastic screen presence.
Yeah, I thought she was pretty good. I liked her more than any of the other throwaway villains that they've used so far because she actually had a motivation. And
And it's more complicated than that, right? She's not really a villain.
right, she's kind of anti-hero in a way. And I liked that we also had a villain proper that gets set up here, and he'll presumably come back because you don't cast Clancy Brown and not bring him back because he's amazing.
No, it's so cool they put Clancy Brown in this, especially because it's a DC thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I really like that the whole crux of this episode was kind of like how far can you go in the interest of protecting people, trying to make the world a better place? Where do you draw that line? Um, you know, thinking about the interests of security for other people, like what are you prepared to do, what shouldn't you do, that kind of thing. That's what the episode was kind of all about for me. Involving the military was a very cool thing, and discussing those kind of themes, and especially connecting it to Plastique, and how she tries to be sort of a vigilante, and Barry's trying to do that, and Wells is trying to do that kind of thing by going back in time and changing things too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's something that like all four of the principal I don't want to call them protagonists, but like main players in this episode are going through and dealing with. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, you've got a lot of having to do the wrong thing to do the right thing. I think that Flash's version of that is kind of the weakest,
Hmm.
and we'll talk about it. But there's a lot of like sympathetic villain stuff going on where nobody is just straight up bad except maybe the general.
He is.
And
I think
and I
that
guess
though.
and I guess as time goes on, we'll see if we get any character dimension from him and any background that will inform why he seems to be so kind of inhumane and doesn't have much of a regard for human life. But I don't know. I love how much we learned about Wells here. I really like the idea that Wells is doing everything he's doing because he's an idealist, and how much he actually seems to care about doing the right thing and helping people, except that he's becoming what he hates through doing that.
But is it all a ruse in the first place? Is the interesting
That's the
question with him.
question. But at the end when you get that thing with Grodd, that's a good question. I don't know. Was he? Yeah, and isn't that great? Isn't that the good kind of frustration when you're watching a show like this,
Yeah.
where when he's such a good manipulator that you don't really know when he's actually being genuine because as an audience member, even having seen him stab and kill a person, I find myself buying what he's selling so much of the time.
Yeah. And like the Grodd scene, he's like all about we need to treat this guy, this gorilla, humanely.
Yeah.
And then after the general leaves, he goes into the cage and is like comforting Grodd, and he's like, I have a different future in store for you. So he's doing that all in the interest of
Yep.
manipulating the situation in the first place.
Of whatever it is, yeah. And then like the whole, he's called an idealist, but it's like, is that a face he puts on
I
in
think
order to get what he wants, or does he really have some kind of big ideal? But then we know that everything he's doing is to keep the Flash around.
you
So
know what it
like,
is.
what's that?
I think that Wells is, and this is very fitting if he turns out to be who we think he is. Everyone in this episode is trying to do the right thing. Well, the villains are trying to kind of do the right thing for the. They're trying. Oh, I just lost it. I'm sorry.
That's that's all right.
Wells is trying to do the wrong thing for the right reasons in that situation. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is a reverse of what Barry's going through in the whole situation with Iris. in the relationship that he has with her, where he's has to lie to her for in the interest of her safety, even though she's trying to help Barry, so she thinks, and he has to cut off the relationship with her.
Yeah, unless Wells ends up being just like completely misguided and out to lunch and thinks he's doing the right thing for the greater good after all, so he does the right thing to do the wrong thing to do the right thing.
From his perspective, I'm talking
From his
about.
perspective, is what I'm saying. Who knows? You're right. When we get to the end there, it does seem to be the reverse of that. I don't. I hate saying the word reverse outside of the context of Reverse Flash on this show because every time I say it, I'm like, oh, it's Reverse Flash. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they were trying to do. Now that I think about it, and that's really cool.
Well, I guess my point is, I guess we just don't know yet. As far as his, his ultimate motivation, which is really kind of exciting. With the general, like I said, he seems to just be kind of power mad.
He's kind of obsessed with the abstraction of the country. He's like, people are trying to destroy the country, therefore I'm going to kill innocent people in the interest of protecting the country.
Which is really typical, right? I mean, like, how many, kind of evil generals have we ever, have we seen do that?
Oh
By
yeah,
the way,
he's Thunderbolt Ross.
well, and what I was gonna, side note, I would never have thought that I would ever see an actor who could voice Lex Luthor but play General Sam Lane.
Yeah, that's true. Because Sam Lane and Ross have a lot of similarities.
Well, and also just like watching him in this episode, just in the face and stuff. If like that would be the guy to cast for Sam Lane.
Oh, interesting. I don't know that I've ever seen like a definitive look for that
Which
character.
I think is hilarious. I'm just saying I think it would work for him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's like what he looks like in the comics right now is close to that. I think the guy that played him in Smallville wasn't a far cry from that.
Yeah, general guys are cool to get cast in roles like that with a big chin and stuff. You know, you always got to get someone that looks like a meathead sort of, but is a little bit smarter than that.
I liked Plastique a lot because she was from the get go a really tragic character. And the only thing that I wasn't sure about was getting to the end and her being. Now, tell me if I missed something, Dan, because I only got a chance to watch this one once. I thought it was too easy for Wells to get her to go kill the general.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was kind of my worst moment was all of that kind of stuff at the end with her,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
where like she's really easily manipulated by both people. It seems like she doesn't really have any conviction of her own.
Yeah, she just kind of jumps back and forth. What was that about? When Wells is like I think you should go kill the general, and she's like, you know what, you're right. She just leaves the room, doesn't even
Yeah.
say anything. She's like, you know what, you're right. And then she tries to kill him, and then Flash shows up, and Flash doesn't even give a speech. Like Wells got a whole speech,
Hmm.
and Flash is just like, you don't want to do this, and she's about to die, and then she's like, Wells is a bad person.
Yeah.
and and I thought that kind of sort of degraded her back to something closer to the kind of two-dimensional metahumans we've had in the past. I'm not going to say two-dimensional villain because I understood her motivation. I thought it made sense. I thought you could have built her up easily to a place where she wanted to kill the general. And I liked doing it through Wells, but we needed a whole other episode, I think,
Yeah, I think it might have been
or
interesting.
something.
Like Barry makes the proposition of having her join the team. It might have been cool and defy. It would have been cool to defy the audience expectations to add this character to the team and then kill her off next episode.
I liked the way that we used her powers to reflect the theme of just because you have power doesn't mean you're a bomb.
Yeah, that's true.
And we have that with Flash, where it's like, he's proving because he had a good heart already, and he was, and he cares, he just cares about people. That you just because you get powers and you become a metahuman doesn't mean that you have to be bad. I like that after we complain so much about everybody who gets powers goes bad for no reason other than we need a bad guy for an episode, that we that we did after Captain Cold, a whole episode about how they don't have to be like that. But then you give a character like this a power who she's not just bad. She's not evil. She's a soldier. She cares about her country. She's trying to give back to society in some way, and she's dealt a bad hand and physically is destructive. And what do you do with that? I thought, and that's why I said she's inherently tragic, and I really like that. I think it's really sad when Wells is like, "Yeah, we can't have her here," and then Barry's like, "Where would she go?" And
Yeah,
so, regardless of what she wants and what she might try to do, I think that part of the idea there is there are there are some things that you simply can't make positive. How could you possibly use that? And that's always a question in X-Men too, where you'll have characters that have powers that are closer to curses than they are to a good thing. And it's like well, how do you use that for good? And I don't know what it would be with her. I don't know if you could take that power and not, even if you knew how to air quotes control it. I don't know if you could really go through your whole life without accidentally touching a person and making them explode.
yeah, I was reminded of a lot of Wolverine with her. She's got the whole experimentation thing going on, like Weapon X, like
She's a
somebody mess,
mix. You know what she is? She's a mix of Wolverine and Rogue.
and she's got Gambit's powers.
Yeah. Well, I said Rogue just because Rogue has that whole I can't touch people thing too.
Right, yeah, and then Gambit's the guy that like the things that he touches explode with kinetic energy.
But he seems to be able to control it a little bit better. Like
Yeah,
her
he does.
seems
I'm just
almost
saying the power looks similar and
unstable.
it's a similar
Yeah,
thing.
you're right. I guess no, I'm sorry. What I'm trying to figure out is if that is a controllable power or not.
It they kind of at the end when she's training, it makes it look like they don't blow up immediately. Like, I mean, I know the Flash gets his costume. He has time to take his costume off, but he
Yeah.
has to take it off extremely quickly. Like when she
Yeah.
throws the plastic disc and stuff, it takes a little bit longer than maybe before it did. But they didn't really make that clear, I don't think.
By the way, I thought Barry was incredibly smart to think about how you can't take that costume off with your super speed because then you're not wearing the costume anymore.
Yes, that's true.
Because at first I was like, wait a minute, why are you doing like you might die? Why are you not moving in super speed? And then I went, oh yeah, because if you're not wearing the costume, that could be bad.
Yeah, and I was hoping that when
Or maybe I don't know.
I was hoping that when he blew up the costume, he would get the one that we saw in the newspaper or something that looked more similar to it. Because Cisco's like, I have two left. I was like, oh, maybe he has a prototype one that looks like the costume from the comics, but we just got the same one.
Yeah, that joke didn't play for me when he was like, yeah, you've got two more, but that was my favorite one. I don't know, that didn't work for me because I guess because I thought, oh, this is like I started writing in my notes, oh, this is cool. We've already blown up the one suit we have.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really talked too much about Cisco, but I find very little of what he says to be funny.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know, like the whole thing with him crushing on Plastique in here was really sappy and kind of creepy. And
What
the
was
the
funny
only the only
was
thing
that then
that
at the end we kill her, and they keep kind of cutting over to Cisco, and I was like, we need to finally have him say like one thing about this. I think because it was I don't know what it was about it that was kind of weird to me, but this person that you were really crushing on super hard is like dead now.
yeah, the only like thing that made those jokes funny for me was Caitlin's reaction where she was like, "I know how to perform a lobotomy" when he was being really creepy and weird about it. I was like, "That's funny because I feel the same way."
I think they're just trying to drive home that the kind of almost I don't know. I think it's kind of cliche, but the kind of standard really nerdy guy who is brilliant, works in a laboratory, spends all his time working on the stuff he's working on, has no social skills. But I don't know. Like even a guy like that, I feel like would be able to curb saying, "But the metahumans don't look like you."
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. That was one of the worst cringers for me. Do you want to talk a little bit about the stuff with Barry and Iris because I thought it was much better than it had been in previous episodes before.
Yes. Yes, let's. I loved much about that and was surprised that I did. Like they took a thing that I wasn't liking with her blogging about the Flash, and as soon as they gave her the motivation, I went, okay.
Yeah, I really liked that she was kind of uh, pursuing her journalistic career because of Barry, and that's something that we had talked about before as a place that we were hoping they'd go, and not just in the Flash persona, but him personally, and I really like that. Um, it gives Barry a real personal stake in um, this whole thing with her putting her name on it and stuff. Like, I don't know. I thought that was a really interesting place to go, and I figured they would go there. But
No, it all worked for me. And until the end with Barry, and we'll talk about that because I have reservations about the way he plays it at the end.
okay,
But a little bit, I don't know. I'm back and forth on it. But with regard to having her continue to pursue the Flash and it being initially because of Barry, I like that because she and Barry share a similar worldview. They're both really selfless. They're both really altruistic. I kind of think it would have been cool if an episode or two ago we somehow could have gotten that, just just because I would instantly like her more. I don't know how we would have gotten it because it's important for the story that's told here that Barry doesn't know that until he confronts her as the Flash. So I don't know how you do that, but as soon as we found out that that was the reason, it all became really interesting to me and was similar to the kind of like uh, Clark Kent Lois Lane thing, except without the romance, where you have where you have this female character who's interested in the male superhero but also cares about the human guy, except with her it's the reverse of it, where she cares more about the human guy and she's just going after the superhero because if Barry knew about him, he would make it evident that the supernatural stuff that he thinks exists, and that's cool because he's the thing that she's going after in the first place. It's classic, but it's a nice spin.
yeah, I'm with you. The Superman comparison came to my mind too. I was very much reminded of the scene from the Christopher Reeve first Superman movie where Superman's being interviewed by Lois on the balcony, and Iris was like, "You're a terrible interview." I was like, "Oh, that kind of reminds me of that scene."
And it is more than a nod to that. They are clearly doing that scene again and turning it on its head.
Yeah, definitely.
It mattered a lot to me that they didn't have him grab her and romantically run really fast.
The fact that he was moving around so much to me was kind of weird. I was like, you can vibrate your face and your voice. She's not going to figure out who you are. Why are you just running around all over the place?
Yeah, it seemed like just kind of this dramatic, look how cool I am kind of thing. It works better when your power is flight.
Yeah, the whole thing that the Flash was doing in that scene was weird because it didn't seem like he was bothering to vibrate his face. He was just conveniently in different places on the roof and in a building next to windows where there's shadow.
I mean, maybe it's just irritating to vibrate your face that much. All they would have to do is say something like, I don't know where they would give us this exactly, but I don't know. I could see buying an explanation like when you vibrate your head, you can't hear anything.
Yeah, I guess so.
Something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
Just like well, my head's vibrating, so it's hard to look at anyone, and it's
I
hard to
just
hear things.
I just thought it was weird in a coffee shop where there was clearly light shining through because you can see it in the scene. Every angle that he runs at in the room, there's shadow.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then we've got episodes of Arrow. I know I've talked about this before. Then we've got episodes of Arrow, by contrast, where Oliver is standing in like plain like light, and somebody who knows Oliver Queen sees his jawline and can't tell that it's Oliver Queen. But then in this, a show that is, by the way, a lot more lighthearted and not about like dark and broody and that kind of stuff. That is not, it's not gritty. Has him constantly in shadow.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, I liked the scene overall, and I thought the Flash being in the shadow looked cool.
Yeah, it did. It did. No, it's just, if you're gonna complain about it, we can make fun of it. It's
Yeah,
cool. But
exactly.
I agree with you. I think that scene was really well played. The actress that plays Iris is showing her chops here. She's great.
Yeah, I mean, I've liked her since the beginning. The actress, like we said, some of the stuff she's been given to do, I haven't liked as much. But this episode, yeah, I think she got a much more meat to work with emotionally and everything. It wasn't just kind of like her being happy because she's always kind of like happy go lucky, similar to how Barry is most of the time.
Yeah.
Except
Well,
for in the scene where he gets struck by the lightning bolt, obviously. But
well, and I like that she's not a drama queen.
yeah, exactly.
Like not at all. She seems like a real person and not just your stereotypical female character. And that's why I didn't care for all the love triangle stuff early on.
Yeah,
This whole thing with her investigating the Flash and stuff, I thought was really typical until this episode. Now I'm really liking it.
yeah, and I'm with you with like the drama queen bit too. I really like that. Her and Barry seem to have this rapport where they know each other so well, obviously, because they've grown up from childhood. And I think the actors have good enough chemistry where you buy it. Where she's like, Barry, I can tell that there's something you're keeping from me. And when you're ready to tell me, we can talk about it. But until then, I'm not stopping writing this blog until you tell me the truth as to why.
Well, he's giving her no good reason, and he can't. And I like that
Well, he
because
tries to, but she still doesn't buy it at the end. You know what I mean? That's what I appreciated about it.
yeah, and I mean, she knows him too well, so of course she doesn't buy it, and it's still not like a good enough reason. Like I've seen a lot of shows where a character will give a really lame excuse for something, and this admittedly is not as lame as some of the things I'm thinking of right now. But where a character will give a really lame thing, and because the script needs the other character to buy it, they're instantly dumbed down just so the episode can work and just so the story can work. And yeah, there again, she feels like more of a real person. Where it's like, no, Barry, I can tell when you're lying
Yeah, exactly.
because he's a terrible liar,
I
and
just
I love this terrible liar.
Yeah, I do too. I think it speaks to what you were saying about her not being a drama queen that she's completely upfront with him about it because she could have known he was lying and just kept it to herself and been like, Barry's acting really strange, but we're not going to talk
Yes.
about it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Communication. And that's the big thing that a lot of obnoxious, dramatic TV characters are lacking. And so they won't talk to a person, and then when there's a communication breakdown, they blame the other person.
Right.
She's not doing that. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And I
Go ahead.
I was going to say that's why it makes me like these much more as a couple now because if they're so willing to communicate like that, that's the basis of what makes relationships work in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I still think I like him more with Felicity, but that's just a taste thing.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I mean they were great in the last episode. I would agree with that.
Let's talk about the ending with those two because this is the thing that I'm a little on the fence about. She is stubborn and has proven to Barry that there's not a thing he can do to make her stop investigating the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
And she has talked to the Flash as a separate person now, so Barry can't even pretend like the Flash doesn't exist anymore. I don't really understand why he has to intentionally create the rift at the end.
Um, I don't know.
Couldn't he just
The
go ahead? Sorry.
the thing that I liked about it was that it wasn't her breaking it off. That's what I kind of liked. I like that she was willing to be there for him even when it made her look better. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that it necessarily made him look all that good.
Well, and it's not just that. I just don't know why he did it. I
Well,
don't quite understand.
the only thing I can think of is he doesn't want to be around her if she's going to continue to write about the Flash, because he might endanger her or something. But
And that's what I thought too, but I just don't quite understand what. I mean, it's two things. One of them is I don't quite understand how just being around her at all is going to put her in any more or less danger than if she's look. I mean, maybe a little because of course he is actually the Flash, but I mean, like he knows that she's gonna find Flash things to write about. So admittedly, yeah, okay, there's a little bit of a motivation there, but is it worth hurting her emotionally like he does?
Well, I mean, if that's what we're going with, and I can kind of see where he's coming from now that I think about it, we're like, I think he breaks it off saying like, okay, you either choose between me or chasing around this guy in really dangerous places, trying to maybe he's like trying to it's like a poker game. He's trying to like call her on a bluff, say, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
he's like, you stop going to these dangerous situations where this Flash guy shows up, or I never get to see you again, or for a little while. That's how he phrases it, and she just chooses to do her thing, or is kind of conflicted about it at the end. We don't know what she's going to end up choosing.
No, but you can be sure that she will keep going after the Flash. One of the things I really liked was that it started from a more noble motivation of helping a friend, and it became something more than that.
Yeah,
That I like. She's got her own personal reasons now for going after, which is simply she's interested, she's curious. I mean, like I like that there's a different impetus that, and I didn't say this earlier. The big reason I'm so happy with that as the motivation, I did not expect it at all. Somehow it never even came into my head that that would be the reason. And the reason I really like it is because I thought it was way too much of a coincidence. It's just too convenient that, oh, okay, the one person that thinks to go investigate the Flash is his best friend.
mm-hmm.
But then it's because of the thing that happened to him when he was a kid, and so now it makes sense that the person trying to go after the Flash is the best friend of the Flash. Like it totally works. I really like that, but I'm just not 100% sold on the ending. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, like it'd be one thing if they were dating, but just being friends. I don't know. That just it seems like he's forcing himself to be too cold, and that's really sad. And I think the other thing too was I didn't quite like how, and this is just my opinion. I didn't really like how the episode at the end kind of tried to connect that with the whole human loss motif,
Mm-hmm.
because with the voiceover at the end, they've got him talking about losing a person, and how difficult that is, and it made me kind of think that they went to that ending mostly just to try to force a parallel with the A story.
Yeah, that might be what they were trying to do.
A little bit. It's not bad. I'm just not sure about it yet.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it has the potential to be either kind of bad or good, depending on where they go with it in the future. I'll really like Iris a lot more if she tries to keep seeing Barry.
Yeah, me too. Well, it's one of those TV things where it's a little bit of a tease because you're like, well, you know it's not going to last very long.
Right, exactly. And
So,
I,
anyway,
I like the way the two actors were playing the scene, and I like we talked about before, like Iris knows Barry so well. But when I thought about the excuse that he gives, it's so terrible. Like that, if I knew him well enough, I wouldn't have bought it either. Like he suddenly has given up his the entire motivation for why he's done everything his whole life.
yeah.
Like it doesn't make any sense. It's not consistent.
Mm-mm.
Like why would he all of a sudden want to give up on trying to find out what really happened to his dad and clear his name just because he's trying to move on all of a sudden? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I really like that. Again, that it's that bad of an excuse because the thing is, what could he possibly say? Like,
Yeah.
what would the excuse be? What and the important thing too is that at first he's doing it for Joe's benefit.
Hmm.
Because it's not just for her safety. It turns more into that, but before that, it's Joe has that scene where he says, "We made a pact, we made a deal, and you're supposed to keep her away from the Flash and away from knowing about the Flash." And at the end, it turns just sort of like her motivation transforms. I think his motivation transforms a little bit too, because importantly, 10 minutes earlier in that other scene with Joe that I liked a lot, it's almost as good as the pizza scene.
I'm with you.
When
I
when
like
he's
it a lot too.
when he's talking to Joe, Joe almost gives him permission to tell her. He almost comes right out and says, "It's your choice."
Hmm.
and he decides of his own accord that Joe was right in the first place. I really like that too. Like, I like that these people are all coming to their own decisions and they're not continuing to just do a thing because somebody told them to.
Yeah, I like that too. And it's the precedent for that is kind of set earlier as well when Joe tries to tell Barry how to live his life after he gets these superpowers, and he defies him in a similar way.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
like I like that they have that kind of mutual respect relationship. That's what I'm liking about those two characters together so much.
Let's talk about some other random kind of potpourri things. Do we have to return back to Oliver's stupid "you were chosen by the lightning" line? Do we have to do that? Can we just, I don't know, can we not do that?
Yeah, I didn't like that line in the first place, so I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Uh, just I don't know, man. Just because you're a superhero show does not mean you have to play the destiny card a lot. I'm not saying that you can't write stories about destiny versus free will. I'm just saying that when it seems kind of like, I don't know, when it gets really kind of cheesy and gooey and stuff, it bothers me because I can tell that we're not really saying anything about the notion of destiny. We're just trying to make it feel more dramatic and make our characters seem like cosmically important.
The only way I would be okay with all this Destiny stuff if they continue that as a major kind of through line through the show
It's got to
is
play on the
if
time travel, right?
what's that?
It's got to play on the time travel.
That's what I was gonna say. If they play it like this has all been predestined by Wells' hand at the end, and then
Uh,
Barry makes a choice to defy that, and it becomes a free will thing, that would be interesting.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And the question of can you change your fate if you've got a guy who is from the future and already knows what your fate is supposed to be? Then we can start talking about the idea of fate because we have a built-in device for it. Um, I really liked the Barry Plastique relationship. I'm with you. I kind of wish she could have stuck around for a couple episodes because them as kindred spirits I thought worked really well.
Yeah, they did, and they come from completely different worlds, which was an interesting thing to contrast. I mean, he's kind of like a an intellectual. They kind of both want to help protect people, but he's a scientist and she's a warrior and goes out and hits people and shoots them and stuff. I don't know, like the similarities between the two characters weren't inherent to me until they started interacting. And I was like, yeah, like the things that they are trying to do are actually pretty similar, and that's the what tied all the themes together is that these people in vastly different kind of places and professions are all trying to accomplish the same things, but they go about it in different ways, and a lot of them cross the line.
Yeah, and importantly, when you have a thing like this, it gets superficial if you simply make the thing that's supposed to make them kindred spirits, we both came from the same place. It's gotta be more than simply they're both metahumans and they both had their lives changed by the shockwave. um so as you were saying, it's nice that they found some inherent similarities in a couple of really unlikely people. uh but I also liked, and I mean, like, again, I didn't care for the way that Wells scene played ultimately with her, but I also like that Wells is able to constantly get people to see his side of things by finding the one thing that he has in common with everyone. Because the whole, because I really latched on to the whole people will sometimes do anything and cross horrible lines to get back whatever it is they lost.
That's true, and it's
And
going to
I'm
be interesting.
trying to figure out if Wells is doing that or not.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm hoping that that's kind of what it is for him ultimately. I feel like literally everything he says has two meanings. It's not even like every other line. I feel like everything he says.
He
Like
could
if
say,
he,
I gotta go to the bathroom, and we'd be like, oh man, what does it mean?
he's gonna go to his secret room and use his future toilet.
Yeah, and we will get to some interesting Wells lines when we get to favorite line. He had a couple of big ones in this where I was like, wow, I can't even peel back all the layers of that. There's just so many.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm with you.
Dan, the shockwave effect on the water when Barry was running on the water was fantastic.
Oh, I was so glad to see the Flash running on water. I wanted to say finally, but I keep forgetting that we're only 5 episodes into the show and he's already learned how to run up buildings and run across water, which is really awesome.
Yeah, and he got to spin around a tornado in the first episode.
Yeah, that's true. So I love that how fast we're progressing him be able to use his powers. It seems like he learns how to do one or two new things every episode. Like he also learned the vibrating face thing in the episode where he was in the jail with his dad, and he learned the vocal cord thing here too.
Yeah. Is that comic book?
I don't know if the vocal cord thing is. I think that might be an invention for the show, but I might be wrong about that. I'm not sure.
I think obviously that's their version of the voice synthesizer thing that Oliver Queen uses, and I like that it's not another voice synthesizer.
Yeah, when he first started talking like that, I was like, he uses one of those goofy things too. Oh man.
Oh man, and you know what? I didn't care for it, and I mean it's okay. I totally see why they feel the need to use it. I wasn't sure that I thought they needed to go there or that I liked it until I got to Joe's reaction, and then that made it completely worth it.
Yeah, his reaction was hilarious and
It was
heartwarming.
hysterical. Well, Dan, let's go on to best moment, worst moment. What was your favorite moment for the episode, man?
Well, I have a couple of things. The thing that got me the most excited was the stinger because Gorilla Grodd was in it, and that was amazing. Um, and then I also just jotted down most of the scenes with Barry and Iris, specifically the one on the rooftop in this episode. I really, really enjoyed because they're finally getting the human drama down in a way that I'm buying it and really, really enjoying it between those two characters. And those are the two that you want to do it right. I don't want this to be like the Raimi Spider-Man movies where I like every human being except for the two people that I'm supposed to care about.
Oh yeah, exactly. And they're making the identity stuff not typical and really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So good on
All
them for that.
yeah. My favorite moment was the Joe and Barry scene in the middle, and I also liked in that like the vibrating voice thing was funny, but I also liked that uh, Joe revealed that he knew that Barry liked Iris. I thought that played really well.
I did too, because when he said not everything, you couldn't immediately tell what he was talking about, and Barry his reaction was kind of funny and awkward at the same time too. The actor played it very well.
What was your worst moment, Dan?
My worst moment was Dr. Wells's Dr. Wells's.
I'm dead.
Uh,
I'm dead.
that was so stereotypical and trite and cliche, and I was like,
So there was no character, anything behind it.
yeah. Like, what did she know about Dr. Wells that she could have told him? Like, Dr. Wells is really good at manipulating people.
Well, yeah, it just Dr. Wells told me to kill this guy. That's why I did it, because this guy in a wheelchair told me to.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that specific. I don't even want to call it a line because it's just words followed by a death noise.
A death noise. I think you and I are supplying the death noise. I'm not.
She definitely made a death noise.
Did she really? That was a death noise? Oh, man.
I mean, from what I remember, but if correct me if
Yeah,
I'm wrong in the comments.
yeah, but also the thing is, uh, apparently, yeah, that's. I mean, that's just they want to give a clue to Barry about Wells, but the thing is, if she agreed with Wells enough to immediately go, you know what, I just needed one person to give me validation. I'm gonna walk off and go kill him right now. Why would the last thing she would think of even be like? Well, I mean, I didn't even really buy that she changed her mind about it just with like the one throwaway line that Flash gave her. But why would she immediately be like, oh, I'm gonna tell you about this bad person because you didn't think he was that bad half an hour ago. Like
Yeah,
you agreed with him. You don't think this is bad. And frankly, if you look at what this general is doing, you've got a case for kill him.
yeah, exactly. And the one thing I did like about that scene, I forgot to mention this when we were talking about it earlier, was I like that Barry fails to save somebody's life, and it's not a supervillain that takes the person's life. It's a regular person.
Yeah.
I kind of did like that because it's like he does have limits on his powers, and it's not limited to metahumans are the only people that can cause trouble for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was the one. That was the one glittering shine. You know, sunshine through the clouds in that scene because most of it wasn't very good.
Dan, if this were first season Arrow, Oliver Queen would have walked up to that general and been like, "You failed this city."
That I love when Oliver Queen says you have failed the city. So I would have liked that.
But you see what I'm saying? Like she's kind of got a case that he's a huge detriment to society and kind of, no pun intended, a time bomb waiting to go off. And
I mean, I don't
I
think she has a case. I think she's right.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to condone murder, but yeah, but
No,
yeah,
I don't
um,
think they kill him, but in that regard, like that he's a bad person, that's
yeah,
bad for the country.
exactly.
Yeah, she's right.
And so that just makes it harder to buy her. Like, oh, and by the way, you should probably know that Wells wants me to kill a person that I was kind of thinking about killing anyway. Um, yeah, I kind of get it. Like, I didn't think that. Here's the thing: if they played that other scene differently, if it was like, boy, I'm sure surprised that this guy who runs the science lab is telling me to run off and kill a person, but they didn't really play it like that. So I don't know. That was sloppy. That's all I'm saying.
It was. It was. I'm with you.
Dan, my worst moment. Okay, so my actual worst moment was probably the death thing. I'm with you. What I wrote down was, really, you're gonna drink at super speed in front of a crowd of people?
Oh yeah, I didn't even think
Can't
about
you
that.
make
That's
your
true.
point? Can't you make your point about how you can't get drunk while drinking at a normal pace?
That is
Like,
true.
if he sat there and downed 8 in a row in like a minute, which would not require super speed, he would be making the same point as doing it really fast. That made no sense.
That is true. I mean, he could have impressed some people, but
Also, why do superheroes always have to take their masks off in front of people that they know who are dying, regardless of there possibly being other people around that could see it happen?
that's another thing that I thought of that I forgot to mention. He takes his mask off, and she calls him Barry while the general is 2 feet away on the ground.
Why did he do that? Oh, let me ask you another question. And again, I saw it once. Tell me if I missed something.
Yeah.
Why were they? Why did Wells and Barry and their compatriots let her know his secret identity? Because when they met the first time, he was in his Flash costume. They could have just kept him in his Flash costume the whole time they were at the science place. They had no reason to trust her. Why did they immediately go, okay, we've taken you to our science place. Here's who the Flash is.
Yeah, I wondered about that too, especially since Cisco made a point of in the Captain Cold episode talking about how metahumans um their powers could be used for evil, and that's why he made the cold gun to fight Barry in the first place.
Yeah, it kind of it had a little bit of an air of the episode knows that she's not bad, so the characters suddenly know that too, even though they have had no experience with her whatsoever.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm with you on that. There's a couple of now that we're thinking about it, there are some things in this episode that are a little plot holy, but I still think the thematic stuff works really well for me and played really
Oh,
well.
I think a lot of it works. Most of what I'm talking about are small, nitpicky kinds of
No,
things.
but still, like them trusting her right away, I think is kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. It's a thing, Dan. Let's go on to quotes. I liked Caitlin's, oh my god, do I sound like Felicity?
That was funny.
Because she totally did. I also like, yeah, Caitlin suddenly getting some cool lines of dialogue. She's a character I've not completely latched onto yet. I don't have a problem with her. She's just kind of there right now. Barry, when he's about to run up the building, one of I stacked up a bunch of mattresses, and she says this isn't a Roadrunner cartoon.
It reminded me of the '66 Batman movie where they land in the mattress store or whatever.
Oh well, I did believe that I saw it out of the corner of my eye.
That's always one of my favorite moments from that movie, so I
I
immediately thought
was
of
I was let down because I wanted so badly for that to be his plan.
that.
Like I loved getting to see him run up the building, but I would have traded it for he breaks into a furniture store and steals a bunch of mattresses.
That would have been really funny.
I would have traded it for that, and then done that like I forget what superheroes have done it. We've seen this a lot, but they've done that kind of classic superhero thing of leave money at the register. Like you steal a bunch of mattresses, but he leaves
Oh
a stack
yeah,
of money
that
at
would.
the register.
Especially since in the episode where he got all his clothes, we didn't see him pay.
Oh yeah, that's true. There should have been money on the register. Joe gave us something that is becoming really kind of a common comedy thing with genre shows like this now. When he says it must be Tuesday in Central City, the first time I ever saw that was in Buffy.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was in I want to say the musical episode Once More with Feeling, but I forget if that's where it was. And I think it was also I think Buffy also aired on Tuesdays at the time. I forget. And she finds out that there's something happened they have to go stop, and she says it must be Tuesday, and it's this kind of funny tongue in cheek, yeah, bad things, whatever happens that's worth doing an episode on always happens on the day that it airs. So like not only is it a once a week show, and not only is it actually inside the show, everything happens in the very next week, but it's on even the very same day. I always thought that was really funny, and they've already done it in this five weeks in.
Yeah, that is really cool. I chuckled at that line when it came up just because it's funny inherently, and the way that actor delivers every line is always gold.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Oh boy, he's brilliant. And I'm gonna be really sad and cry if you're right and they kill him, and I won't want to talk to you anymore because I'm gonna think that that you caused it to happen by predicting it.
I'm the Harrison Wells of the TV show.
Oh no, you're that's wow. That's pretty good Harrison Wells impression, Dan.
Thanks.
Good job. Wells has a lot of lines in this, as he always does, that sound like double, triple, or possibly quadruple entendres. The technology required to splice your DNA hasn't been invented yet. That means probably that Wells knows what the technology is, and he could probably save her, but it would blow his cover.
Yes, that is true.
Oh man, that's sad. Wonderfully layered, but she died because of him.
She did
Man,
in more ways than one.
that's right. Also, powerful men have a way of avoiding consequences. He's talking about himself, and I'm not sure if even he knows it.
Yeah, that was the line that I chose. That was my favorite one. It's great
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good stuff. I'm gonna add a new category, Dan, which is weird Cisco shirts.
Yes, that's a great one.
Cisco's always got a weird shirt. The weird Cisco shirt for this week, I chose the sci-fi warrior cat at the end. That was that was a really odd shirt. It looked like a cat the from space and possibly in the far future.
I didn't even notice that. That's hilarious.
That was a weird shirt. Guest stars, we had Clancy Brown. Yay for Clancy Brown! When his name came up, I got really excited. He did not disappoint. Again, really two dimensional so far, but he's playing it well, and we'll see if they do more with it. Dan, you looked up Plastique. Who was she?
She was Kelly Fry. Kelly Fry. I don't think she's done all that much. I didn't really find it too many credits under her name. She didn't really have a Wikipedia page, so.
Wow. You didn't look her up on IMDb.
No, I didn't.
She, I think, did a really good job of being like really hardened and no nonsense, and I bought she was a soldier.
Yeah, I thought she was pretty good.
I'm
Except
sorry,
for
go ahead.
Death Noise.
Yeah, but that might have been directed. The director, we need a death noise, and she's like, "Really, death noise? Okay, all right."
Sure.
Comic references. Tons of.
There's another guest star,
Oh God, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
the gorilla, who played Grodd. He was great.
We'll just call him Grodd.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that gorilla had a name, but I'm sorry, gorilla, if you did.
There were loads of comic references this time. Plastique was originally a Fury of Firestorm character, appeared in 1982 and was created by Gary Conway, and and then sorry, Jerry Conway, and then she was in the DC animated Justice League Unlimited episode Task Force X. I think that's the only place she had been on screen before this. General Wade Eiling was a Captain Atom character. Cameron Scott is an alias of Captain Atom.
Oh, was that mentioned?
Yeah.
I didn't even pick up on that because I don't know that guy's name.
No, me
That's
neither.
funny.
But again, if it starts with a capital letter and I haven't heard of it, I look it up in this show.
That's true.
Brett, and then they called Plastique her comic book name, of course. Bet Sansuki, and then we had a foreshadowing for Captain Boomerang because there was a boomerang.
Yes, that's the one that I picked up on that you hadn't mentioned yet. And there's probably more that we missed.
And General Grodd.
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry, did I say General Grodd? Gorilla Grodd. Kneel before Grodd!
Everyone should, because he's the best.
My son Jason at one point was confused about Gorilla Grodd because he heard his name wrong at some point and thought that his name was Gorilla Garage.
I thought you were going to say Gorilla Zod, because that's
No.
a common mistake, I would imagine, too.
And I just it was imagining like this giant garage door that was also somehow a gorilla. Gorilla Garage.
See,
Anyway, sorry.
They should make a game called Gorilla Zod where someone steals your bananas and then he yells, "I will find them!" 1 times.
Yeah.
It'd be like Donkey Kong, but with an evil monkey. But anyway.
Let's go on to predictions and hope, shall we, Dan?
Yes.
I don't really have anything majorly new here, except that I don't think this Iris and Barry aren't talking to each other thing lasts more than an episode.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't. And they've been defying my expectations with the love stuff. And when the show started, we were like, "Oh, they're gonna drag this crap on forever." And they've been paying stuff off relatively quickly, even with like the Joe and Barry relationship stuff. So I'm hoping they move as quickly as they have been in previous episodes.
As I said, I don't really have anything else major, Dan. Did this episode make you think of anything new about the time travel stuff? I mean, it kind of just got me continuing to go, wow, this Wells guy is really interesting. But like, I don't have any specific. This is what I think they're doing.
I think that gene splicing technology they were talking about before is going to be revealed to be involved with Grodd's origin to some degree, because that's kind of what she thought she was being experimented on with in things. So that will be interesting to see. I really hope Grodd shows up soon, because we saw his cage broken out of at the beginning of the first episode. And other than that, I hope Clancy Brown gets to be in the show more, because he's awesome.
Let's go on now to trivia questions. And Dan, what was yours from last time?
My trivia question from last time was, what was the original Rogues lineup? And the answer is as follows: Captain Cold, Mirror Master, the Pied Piper, Weather Wizard, the Trickster, Heat Wave, the Top, and Captain Boomerang.
So Pied Piper wasn't in there?
It was in there.
Oh, you said that. Okay.
Yes.
My question from last time, by the way, the person who got yours right first was Peter Abrahimi, and he also got mine too. So congratulations, way to be quick on the button, getting both of them. Mine was, what was the name of the trivia team that was dressed up like Star Wars characters, and it was Pride and Padawans.
Oh yes, that's right.
That's what it was. So anyway, congratulations to Peter for getting both of our questions. And hey, Dan, I am going to bet money that your question for today is related to Gorilla Grodd.
How did you know? My question is related to not only Gorilla Grodd, but what I really like about Gorilla Grodd and how it's similar to one of my other favorite sci-fi franchises. In Gorilla City in when he first shows up, Gorilla Grodd has a rival, which is kind of like Gorilla Grodd's kind of like Koba from the recent Planet of the Apes movie we got, and this character is his rival as the ruler of Gorilla City. He's kind of like Caesar. He's got a similar worldview. He's a little bit more progressive than Grodd is. I want to know the name of that character. Who is his gorilla ruler rival in Gorilla City?
So, what are the odds that they go far enough to give us Gorilla City in this show, Dan?
If they give us Gorilla City, I will be the happiest man alive.
You'll be the happiest man alive.
Yeah. I will be absolutely elated.
Dan, my question for today, as always, from the episode, is in the scene at the end while Barry is trying to get drunk again, the bookend, or not trying to get drunk but get buzzed. The sad slow song that's playing at the bar during that scene is a cover of what Duran Duran song?
Oh, that's a question I don't even know the answer to. I don't even remember what song was playing.
Well, I was paying attention, Dan, and now I have a trivia question. Well, anyway, everybody, thanks as always for listening. If you think you know the answer to one or both of my and Dan's questions, you can always send us your answer to our website. That's geekvolution.com. Go to the contact page, send us your answers. Whoever gets them right first will be mentioned with much fanfare on next week's edition. Dan, thanks so much for being with me as always, man.
Thanks for
I thought
having
this
me.
was a really good episode overall.
I thought so too. And hail Grodd.
Kneel before Grodd.
Yes.
Thanks again for listening. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Dan.
We'll see you next time.